Hi! Hey, everybody. It's a special chit chatting with Becca. We just wanted to pop on real quick. I'm fixing to bring that we got Dr. Janet in the wings here, and what a historic day. So I'm just going to get her right on. We just wanted to do a quick chat. Dr. Janet!
Yay!
Oh my gosh! Congratulations! Clink, clink, clink! Oh my God!
Let's just, this is such a historic day.
It is such a historic day, and I wanted to have you on just right quick. I know we talked, immediately as soon as I found out.
I mean, right before you called me, people were texting me and they're like, President-elect Joe Biden. And I'm like, yes. Because they were waiting for PA to hit 35,000, above. And that was the magic number. And Pennsylvania delivered.
I know, man. I can't even believe it. Like, we were in the car and I was navigating, so I had stopped looking at the news and social media for like 40
I just had to
minutes.
I just had to like step away and go, you know what? I'll find out. I'll check Twitter. And then my phone just started blowing up and it was just amazing.
I know, it's amazing. And the historic, I can't even begin to, like we talked about earlier. I mean, this is historic for women. Mm-hmm. It's historic for immigrants. It's historic for the Black community, the Asian community, like
the Indian American community. Yeah.
I mean, all of us.
I've been saying this all along throughout the election. I always said good will always prevail over evil. And always, no matter, and I always think of the Donald Trump presidency as a lesson learned. Lesson learned.
Well, so it is a lesson learned, but I think what we need to do is we have to remain diligent.
Yes.
And we can't tap the brakes. Like, we have to keep the gas pedal to the metal.
And let's just put it this way: if Donald Trump doesn't concede and he brings down the Republican Party, there's only 2 Senate seats until the Democrats take over, and there's a runoff in January. So the Republicans, if they want to save their party, better start speaking out.
Well, and they need to save their party. Like, they need to stand up to the bullying, and they need to say enough is enough. We want to take our party back and be the party that we want to be, and not be the Trump party. Like, this is ridiculous. Right. They need to take their party back.
I've always said he hijacked the Republican Party.
He did,
and it became the Trump party.
It did.
And I say that because we were talking yesterday about the Trump trucks and, the flags. I mean, you saw people outside of the election counting places praying and doing these, cult-like weird types of things. And
very cult. Cult.
I've never seen someone so dedicated to a presidential candidate.
Right.
Like we support them and we're like wearing their t-shirts, putting their yard signs out, but these people are all in, and
they're on their knees. I mean, it's like they're
threatening people
to a Trump god of some kind.
And the conspiracy theories they're coming up with and spreading. So we have to be vigilant in finding the truth right now. And actually seeking out facts. And actually, looking and scrutinizing everything. And what I'm so proud of journalism right now is because they are speaking out and saying, I would read this Trump statement, but it's so filled with lies and conspiracy theories that we can't. The only thing we can tell you is that he's going to be in court on Monday.
Yeah.
His team.
A lot of his lawsuits have already been thrown out.
So it's
not even And earlier today, I was people were like, he doesn't really have we're not really sure what he's going to court for. We can't understand what is he like? This is all legal,
right? So well, one of the judges' reports, they had, one of the journalists had posted the judge's ruling, and it said, we cannot try on hearsay.
Yeah, you can't. Like, there has to be facts. It has to be facts. Yeah. You know, I mean.
Yeah, and there's a lot of false images out there that in fact, I got my computer out with that I can download tweets and analyze them. So I first started with Joe Biden, and over 17,000 tweets were collected. And then now I'm going to take a look at the hashtag fraud to see what's going on out there, and you know, what is the rhetoric, what are the pictures, what are the things that we need to be looking out for. And I keep seeing this like postal bin with like who knows what in them, you know, and saying, look at this is fraud. And I'm like, well, we don't even know what context that is in.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to even, that's very, it's very, what I hope for everyone is that we can somehow, everybody take a break and take a step back and say, all right, look, this is a great time for us to understand our democracy and be, you know, as patriotic as we can be, and become Americans again, and, you know, citizens of the United States, and say to our brothers and sisters,
no red and blue states. It's like the United States.
It's time for us to rebuild. Like, the past 4 years have been hell.
Well,
they've been hell.
I have been thinking, I said, you know, I think I tweeted this afternoon. I said, I have something in me that I need to write, but I don't know what yet. And what comes to mind is how rhetoric, when we stop the abusive, derogatory, you know, untruthful rhetoric out there every day, what will happen to Americans and the American, and how we'll heal.
Right.
Because we're going to start healing, because we're not going to have those everyday tweets, everyday lies, every day. And I would like someone to tell me like 2 or 3 things that Donald Trump's administration has changed for the good of Americans.
Exactly.
Because I can't think of any. I wish, you know, whenever I ask a Trump supporter, you know, what has he done, they can't really tell me other than you're a snowflake.
Yeah, well, and it's all this rhetoric of you know, like, well, he built the wall and he stopped this, and it's like, yeah, but listen to what you're saying. Like, why don't you tell me something good? Like, like he has another national park, or we created another national monument, or, you know, we've got a better health system.
He cleaned up the water in
Flint, Michigan.
Yes, in Flint, Michigan, you know, or he helped the environment, or, you know, I know these are issues that not everyone thinks of, but when we think about just common humanity issues, we help the economy, we help health, we, you know, help immigration, we create new jobs. And everyone was criticizing Joe Biden for talking about oil and trying to get away more towards more healthy, more environmentally friendly energy. And I'm like, do you know how many jobs that's going to create?
It's a huge job market.
It's huge.
Wow. Well, and you have to get on board, because it's the wave of the future. Alternative energy sources are the wave of the future, and pretty soon
it's not going to stop. It's not or not.
It's not going to stop. I mean, Harley Davidson, they're going all electric. Ford just came out with an F-150 that's going to be all electric. Yeah. Jeep Wrangler, they have a Jeep Wrangler coming out that's all electric. I mean, it's just, and the list goes on. Volvo, all electric. Mercedes, I mean, you just keep going, like it's not just a Tesla anymore.
Right.
Everybody's doing it.
VW is coming out with electric cars. They're bringing back the electric bus. Back the
bus. And it's going to be all electric.
I know. So we have to understand that the rhetoric that is going to come out of the Biden presidency is going to be one of positivity, of uniting, and it's going to, and people who may have supported Trump may be saying, oh, wow, I didn't realize. It's like an abusive wife getting out of a marriage finally, and finally coming to terms saying, oh, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Right.
I'm hoping that will happen.
I hope that people are, and there's going to be a large percentage of the population that is going to remain in the Trump cult, and we're not going to be able to get them out.
No, you're never going to make everyone happy. You're just not.
You're just not, and you're not, because we can see this in the history of Germany. I mean, people followed Hitler. I mean, they still believed in Hitler up until their death.
Right.
And so they still. I mean, they were still members of the Nazi party until their death. So 60 years later. So we're not going to see this Trumpism go away, but maybe we can begin to come back together and reach across the aisle, and let's come together for some good, and start that healing process, and all of us, and look at the fact that not only is this historic, like we now have a woman in the White House. We now have.
Do you know how many little girls' dreams are going to be dreaming bigger?
Yep.
Because of Kamala.
Yep.
It's amazing. I've loved her from the very beginning, and I just am so excited that it was her.
Yep.
It's like we didn't know we needed her until she showed up.
Yep. And when she showed up, she showed up.
She showed up. And she did it. And Joe was very smart in selecting her as his running mate. I think that was the smartest choice that he could have made.
Yep.
And I am so happy that Dr. Jill Biden, Jill Biden,
I know,
is an English teacher, I believe, an English professor.
Yeah.
And she teaches at a community college, and she hopes to keep a class or two during the presidency.
That's cool.
And somebody who understands grammar and can, put together something that will be monumental for young people. I'm sure she's going to go out for young adults, use her education. Somebody who has a PhD. She should actually be the Secretary of Education, but that's a hard job to do with First Lady. But she can make such an impact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and honestly,
and she's never appeared naked anywhere.
Woohoo! And what will be so great is, like, we can actually start looking at our education system again and go, all right, you guys can take a breath and let's start teaching these kids. My goodness gracious.
And you know what I love about this is, like, on Monday, he's actually going to put together a COVID task force.
He's already on
it. He's announcing his task force on Monday.
He's already working.
But he's right. And I've said this from the very beginning, whenever I was yelling at the screen at Trump about our economy and COVID, I go, if you want the economy to come back, you have to deal with COVID first.
You got to deal with it.
You have to deal with it. It's going to be rough. We're going to have a rough year, but you just prolonged that period of time that we could have spent fighting COVID in a more productive way instead of our numbers rising.
No, we could have actually been fighting COVID instead of all of us just being on your own.
Right. It's like,
don't wear the mask. Wash your hands. Don't wash your hands. Take a shower. I don't care. Whatever.
But I don't know about you, but I felt automatically safer.
Yes, I do feel safer. I feel 100% safer. And I tell
he's
you what,
he's now getting national security briefings.
Yep. And let me tell you something. This is a story that I haven't really told. Right after the election happened in 2016, the next morning, that Wednesday morning, I got up to go for a run, which is what I do. And I got up to go for my run, and I run in my neighborhood very early in the morning. And a car drove by and flicked a cigarette at me and called me a dyke.
Wow.
The next day in 2016. And I have been terrified from that moment, that not just that something bad was going to happen in my community, but something bad was going to happen to my country.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That was just
okay. He was giving permission to that behavior.
Yeah. And that was like who's gonna say, hey, yo, man, like don't do that. Like, that's not cool. Yeah. We need that leadership to say, okay, look, this type of behavior is not okay.
Well,
it's not okay.
The communications office out of the White House has been a mess. It used to be the gold standard. Like, nothing comes out of the White House unless it's perfect. And, they sent out invitations that had misspellings and all these things that, has been like a black mark on the communications out of the White House. Right. And now we get that back. We get back a standard that we can be proud of. I mean, we have now, a better tomorrow than we did yesterday. And we have a world where they can see us and see dreams and prosperity and, hope. And
hope.
They reported that Paris was ringing the church bells for us.
We can get kids out of cages. We can get them back with their families. We can take a look at
immigration. We can maybe solve it. We can at least make it better.
Yeah, let's we need to take a look at this stuff. Like, this is something, it's historic in so many ways. There's so much relief. There's so much positivity. It's so fantastic. People are in the streets celebrating. It's like we're free again.
Well, I thought about this. I go, I wonder if this is what it feels like when a hostage is freed.
Exactly.
Because I felt like we've been held hostage for 4 years since 2016. And some people who support Trump will be like, oh, I can't believe she would say that, blah, blah, blah.
But I agree 100%.
But again, we have been mentally abused. Even the Trump supporters. That's the thing. It's that they think, oh, wow, he just says what he thinks. Well, so does an abuser. So does somebody that you want put in jail because they didn't treat you right and they battered you, and that's what I felt like. I felt like we've been mentally abused for 4 years, and it's going to be such a shock to people when we have this rhetoric coming out of the White House that is professional, and when the news media has really nothing to report other than just a normal day at the White House.
Just a normal day at the White House. Yep. Just another normal day at the White House. They can take that wall down that's surrounding the White House. Take that shit down. Let's get on back to it. Let's get on back to let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
Exactly. It's like reality show is over. It ran for 4 seasons. Yeah. It's done. January 20th that we have inauguration?
Is that what it is?
It's either it's like the 20th or 21st, I want to say.
I'll look it up.
Look it up. Google.
I'll look it up. Let's see.
Check for us. But on that day, we're going to have like a collective sigh of relief.
Yeah.
That we haven't had. But we have to also note
January 20th.
January 20th. 70 million people still voted for Trump. So we are a very much divided country. But I don't think those 70 million people are the ones that are, bowing and praying and running trucks off. I think I always say that's like a quarter of them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the other 3/4 are just people who saw their 401ks and they've always voted Republican. There's some people that
I would say a lot of them are people who've always voted Republican.
Exactly.
And something that I wanted to talk about yesterday that we didn't get a chance to was that, you don't have to vote straight down the line on the ticket Republican.
Right.
You can vote for who matches. I mean, there's a strategic way to do that as well, but like if there's something specific, but now that we can go back to our regularly scheduled program,
right,
we can actually look at the ticket and we can say, hey, listen, this person, I like them. They represent me.
Yes.
Then they might be from a different party. They might be from a more conservative party than what you normally do. They might be from a more progressive party than what you normally choose. But this person really, I like their ideas. They represent me as a person. I feel like I would be happy with them representing me, which I think is one of the things that people have forgotten, is that they've forgotten that the people that you are voting for are representing you.
Yeah.
And this is, so when you look at this person that you are praising, this is how you feel.
Yes.
And I feel like that is one of the big things that people are forgetting. They were just looking at it and they look how outrageous, and he's going to be so different.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah,
he's going to be fun. Politics is so boring. And I'm like, guess what? Politics is boring. When you do it right. When you do politics right, it's boring.
It's boring.
And it should be.
Have you ever watched C-SPAN? It's boring.
It is boring.
Exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be boring. It's supposed to be like, all right, great. They're making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do. Great. Just another day at the White House.
Yeah. Every day should not be an opportunity to make a meme.
Exactly. But we're going to get press briefings again.
From knowledgeable press secretaries who know what they're doing. And they're going to tell us their successes as much as they are going to tell us their failures.
And they're going to tell us the truth.
And they're going to tell us the truth. Now, there's always spin in politics. There's always spin.
Well, of course there is.
There is. But we're going to get the truth.
We're going to get the truth.
And the one thing that I trust Joe Biden in is telling us the truth after these last 4 years. And I think a lot of politicians are going to have to, they can't sell themselves as Donald Trump anymore. They can't just say whatever they want. I think the next 4 years, you're going to see another shift in how politics and politicians are going to be speaking to the electorate.
Amen. I 100% agree. One of the other things that I really enjoyed this morning when I was coming back from my run, I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about the super voter. And the super voter, I would be a super voter. I vote in every single election that I am eligible to vote in. That includes if we're just voting on some propositions and that's all that's up for vote.
Yeah.
I'm in the voting booth. I've done my research. I know what I want to say. I'm in the voting booth. I'm voting. If the school board comes up for election, Becca's in the voting booth. You can count on me to be down here at my community center voting for every single, or my little local library down here.
And it's so easy. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, you're in and out.
I know what I'm voting for. I know why I'm voting for it. I'm voting. Know, and it's the super voter that every single one of us needs to be a super voter.
And that's the easiest civic engagement you could have.
Exactly. And you're also engaging in the democracy, and democracy is only going to work if we engage in it. If we're not engaging in democracy, it's not going to work.
Like I said,
show up every single election.
If you ignored Donald Trump for 4 years, I believe you're part of the problem because you weren't civically engaged fighting for what he could have done better.
Exactly.
Because he failed the Trump supporters as much as he failed the non-Trump supporters.
He did 100%. 100%. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing.
I don't know how to explain him because I don't think he's really done anything.
Well, I guess you should start working on another book.
Oh man, I can't even figure out my next article about how I want to explain the rhetoric that's going to be changing, because my book that's coming out in December is how we got here.
Yeah.
So now I have to figure out, well, maybe my next book is where we go from here.
Yeah. By the way, y'all, if you're not following Dr. Janet on the Twitter, her Twitter handle is right there. It's at Janet News, and y'all need to follow her at the Twitter. That way, she's puts out a podcast. Make sure that you're going on and listening to her podcast with a wealth of information that she has for us and can help us look at politics and social media and how we can engage in our how we can engage civilly and also become that digital citizen, that good digital citizen that we need to be, that's going to help heal our country and bring us back together.
Yeah. I mean, we have to learn. I mean, someone asked me, how can we how can we solve the social media mess, and why social media was putting up boundaries. And I said, right now, it's always been the wild, wild west.
Right.
And when did America become America? When we put up boundaries and when we made laws and when we made, we're not talking about Uber control, but we're seeing even Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the internet, has spoken out publicly saying, I didn't invent this for this to happen.
Right.
And so we, as digital citizens, I went to journalism school. I worked in the media. I know how to control a message. I know how to, put out information. But the average ordinary citizen who was given this control, who has their own media in the palm of their hands. Yeah, you are your own media hub. You can go live. You can break news before CNN. And the thing of it is, we don't know. A lot of people don't understand there's an audience out there. You can get fired from your job. You just can't say what you want to say. You can still express your opinions, but there's boundaries. And we saw a man for 4 years who went beyond what we normally would see on social media and not get fired. He had no consequences. Steve Bannon, I was so happy to see this. His lawyers quit because he threatened, he wanted to, he thought Dr. Fauci should be beheaded. Who would tweet that? Who would say that?
Well, and Twitter banned his YouTube channel, and it's time for YouTube to ban his channel too, because that type of rhetoric is not okay. That is domestic terrorism rhetoric, and so that type of rhetoric is not okay. But they also
that's threatening somebody.
Exactly. They also banned his Twitter account too, or did they?
Yeah, they banned it, and his lawyers abandoned him.
Yeah. So, and these are the types of boundaries that we need to create with social media to help stop the spread of misinformation. And I believe that it is social media's responsibility. It's Facebook's responsibility. It's Twitter's responsibility. It's Instagram's responsibility. All of the other platforms that we use, it's the responsibility of social media companies to come together and say, okay, guys, what Twitter has been doing, where they're blocking the message and saying, hey, this might be misinformation.
Yeah. Or, hey, the election hasn't been called yet.
Right. Yeah. All of that stuff. Before you view the tweet or the post or anything like that, that's amazing, because that makes you think about it, and you may not care. And there's a lot of people out there who don't care.
No, they don't. And they just they're not telling you can't read the tweet. You can still click and see the tweet if you so desire. Exactly. But Twitter is making you take a breath. And that's what social media needs to do. Let's take a breath. Let's not rely on Twitter. Let's not rely on Facebook for our information. Right. It's fun. It is fun to interact with people and to chat and to read news. But people need to realize that not all information is created equal.
Exactly.
So, well, and it takes media literacy and education to And I hope that these 4 years have taught a lot of people that.
Well, and I don't know if high schools do this, but maybe we need to start early, since so many young people are getting into social media, and social media is changing so much. There's so many things that, like, young people aren't on Facebook. Young people really aren't on Twitter. They're on TikTok, and all of these other, new fun stuff. I'm on TikTok too.
I know, with you and Little.
I know it's Little's TikTok. But we need to be educating young people about, how social media really should be used, and how dangerous it can be, and how hurtful it can be. And that, I know we've been fighting the bullying on social media since it started, but I mean, we really probably need to go ahead and just crack down on that and get a handle on it.
I saw a Frontline video that talked about Korea. Korean children have to go through online netiquette, and they have a little song, netiquette. It's really cute.
That's cute.
But we need that in our schools. I mean, China and Korea have already started with game addiction and things, all things online to beat this addiction. And America needs to say, hey, what can we do to help people navigate this online world? Right. And how can we help social media channels create a more, I want to say, safe environment to share information?
Yes.
I'm not, and a lot of people would disagree with me, but it's with any Wild West, America finally got boundaries and found its way. Yep. It's that we need these boundaries as well.
Well, and there's a difference between free speech and misinformation, spreading misinformation and false information and that kind. And I wouldn't say stirring the pot, but riling up people in the wrong way.
It goes back to digital citizenship.
It goes back to digital citizenship. And each one of us, if you're gonna engage online, then you have to be a good digital citizen. You got to vet your own stuff. And if you're not vetting it, each one of us has the responsibility to report posts that are misinformation. So if y'all see your friends posting stuff, if you want to say something. If not, just report it. Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're going to know that you reported it. Just report it.
I've been reporting tweets all day, and I will report friends, Facebook posts and information. One of my friends, someone posted a meme, and she was saying these are the lies that are being spread. She was, saying this is misinformation. And so I went to the original, whoever she shared it from, to their page and reported it. And she's like, did you report that? I'm like, yeah, I don't know the person. Who cares? They're not going to know who, I said, but it was misinformation that probably Russia constructed because it was a meme with all the information that would make a more divisive rhetoric in America.
Right. And this is really a time for us to come together. And like I said earlier today, we need to take today and celebrate like mother scratchers. Just be happy that we can start. I was telling Amy, Amy said to me while we were out and about today, and we saw a grouping of American flags, and she teared up. And she said, I've never been so happy to see that flag as I am right now. And I agree with her. I was just like, 100%.
On my walk this evening, I saw one Trump flag, and I was like, oh, bless their heart. And then I kept seeing all these American flags flying. And I go, you see, everyone's seeing hope today.
There's hope.
Because I didn't see those flags the other day, but today I saw them.
Yep. There's hope. There's hope out there, Dr. Janet.
There's hopes and dreams.
Yep.
And there's hope
now each one of us can see ourselves in the White House again,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal.
And every one of us can, I mean, Kamala represents every woman who's ever wanted a seat at the table, and she has that.
And she's got that now.
She's got that. She represents, she has a, you know, I'm so excited to see her tonight to own that moment.
I know. So they're going, their speech is at 8 p.m. Eastern, right? So that's 7.
Right, so that's 7.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Janet. Well,
all right.
It's so good. Thank you so much for popping on. And maybe later on in the week, we could pop on again and just be like, woo, this is what's happening.
This is great. But Monday, you know, just note that it's not over. And
it's not over.
And I'm praying that won't erupt into any violence. That So I'm hoping that'll be peaceful, and that Trump will concede and realize that, you know, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
He has, you know, he can either go out with grace or he can go out embarrassingly awkward.
Yeah. And I mean, really, which one do you really want to do?
I really think he's going to take the latter one. So
I think he's going to be dragged out, but we'll see.
Yeah. And like Major Garrett said on CBS this morning, they go, you know, once January 20th and Biden gets sworn in, even though you do not have, a president does not have to concede, candidate does not have to concede for the other guy to take office. And so you don't need to formally concede. The electoral college, electoral officials actually are the ones who decide who is president, you know, with the vote count. But what is so interesting is that national security advisors have already, you know, reportedly, allegedly has come together to talk about what will happen in that scenario. And they believe that if Trump is still in office, you know, won't leave, that he will be escorted out because he will then be a trespasser on White House property.
So let me ask you this. Has that ever happened before?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't heard anyone talk about it. Because you have to understand, whenever George Washington became president, you know, through the years and through the 1700s, you know, late 1700s and 1800s, everyone was scared because, you know, we had the American Revolutionary War, right? And that's what we fought against, is that we could have a democracy and not be ruled under a king or queen. So for years, that has always been the fear of a candidate, is that they didn't want to be seen as king.
Right.
So we kind of lost that along the way.
He did want to be seen as king.
He wanted to be seen as a dictator.
Yeah.
And his rhetoric, you know, reflected populism and, you know, a demagogue. You know, and I talk about that in my book. So
Janet's got a book coming out.
I got a book, December 15th. But, you know, you just have, you know, this rhetoric coming out of his mouth that says, I want to be ruler of all.
Right.
Forever.
Yep.
So.
Congratulations, Dr. Janet.
Congratulations.
We did it.
I'm so relieved.
I am too.
You know, I'm just relieved that the nightmare is over.
Me too. Well, we'll check back in with you later on in the week to see how everything's going. Because let's
hope that we don't have to meet and everything's peaceful and everything is fine. But let's just, you know, I hope.
Let's hope. We'll
get golfing. Whoever thought to get him out on that golf course today was brilliant. I give that person a raise because or the Nobel Peace Prize, because he's kept off of, you know, the giving a speech. So let's hope that he doesn't give a speech at the same time as Biden tonight, which is highly possible, but I can tell you who the press will cover.
Exactly. All right, Dr. Janet, thanks for popping on. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Woo! Well, again, congratulations to everybody. This is a historic day. I want everybody, let's all enjoy it. And then we got work to do. So we'll have to get right back to work tomorrow. And then again, celebrate on January 20th. And then just start our healing our nation, because it's been kind of a rough go of it. So we'll see you. We'll see you next Saturday.